Today in the News Digest, Zelenskyy reacts to a possible future meeting with the Kremlin dictator. Putin has promised Trump a deal worth $12 trillion. Learn how real the bonanza is. New nuclear umbrella for Europe. The EU is ready to respond to Trump's accusations. While Putin continues to drag the negotiations towards nowhere to make it stall, Russia's Pskov region was hit by drones last night. An oil depot was targeted in the city of Velikiye Luki. As the new day began, footage circulated on social media that allegedly showed the oil depot on fire. Local authorities reported that a fuel storage tank containing petroleum products was hit and set ablaze. Zelenskyy sharply criticized Putin's historical claims in an interview with Piers Morgan. The president of Ukraine said that if he were to take part in potential negotiations with Putin, he would not spend time discussing historical narratives or the justifying reasons behind Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The president stated he would focus exclusively on practical, pragmatic solutions needed to end the war, particularly security issues, timelines, and ways to end the war ASAP to minimize losses.
I don't need to waste time on historic issues, reasons why he began, all this, bullshit, what he's raising with Americans and etc. That it's not simple things about the Peter the First and etc. I don't need it, because for end this war and to go to diplomatic way, I don't need all this historical shit, really, because it's just to postpone.
During this interview, Zelenskyy also stressed that his approach to dialogue would remain pragmatic rather than emotional, saying he holds no personal grievances, but is focused on achieving a real outcome to end the war.
I don't have personal things to him. No emotions. No emotions. Just I have understanding how really try to finish this war in the this not permanent pause. I just try to finish this war. I'm not sure that he will hear my arguments, and I don't need it, because I'm not aggressor.
Russia's economy has entered a so-called death zone, according to a report by The Economist. The shortfall in the Russian federal budget exceeded 8 trillion rubles last year, the highest deficit recorded since the COVID-19 pandemic. Projections for the current year are even grimmer. Analysts suggest that while Russia's export revenues continue to dwindle, the growing budget gaps can no longer be plugged by tax revenues alone. Arctic oil and gas, rare earth minerals, a nuclear-powered data center, a tunnel under the Bering Strait, and the return of ExxonMobil's $5 billion in assets was just a part of what has been offered to Donald Trump while implementing the Kremlin's beloved STA strategy, where STA stands for selling thin air. Trump loves deals, and according to The Economist, the bigger the better. And so, before Putin's meeting with the U.S. president in August in Anchorage, a memo was prepared for Russia's National Security Council, explaining how exactly to sell the biggest deal ever to him. The instruction manual was, as per the publication, quite simple. The sales offer would have to be just as big as the buyer's ego. Big names, large numbers, vast ideas, huge perspectives, skyrocketing profits. And so the Russians decided, why not to go all in? The total package was valued at staggering $12 trillion in exchange for easing sanctions against Russia. It was meant to be mind-blowing, and it did blow some minds indeed. At least one American mind, for sure. Since April last year, Kirill Dmitriev, who heads Russia's sovereign wealth fund, has met at least 9 times with Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, and individuals close to the Trump family also discussed acquiring stakes in Russian energy assets. As reported, on August 15, 2025, Trump met with Putin in Anchorage, Alaska, to discuss the war in Ukraine and possible ending of it. Initially, there were hopes that the meeting would help quickly reach peace agreements and even organize direct talks between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. In reality, however, negotiations stalled and no tangible progress has been achieved so far. And we can clearly see why now. Peskov's infamous saying, the phrase, "the spirit of Anchorage," we see what he meant now. A deal was discussed between Trump and Putin indeed, but not at all it was a deal on ceasefire and peace. It was a gazillion dollars worth Russian all-in buyout deal. Especially good investment by Russia, by the way, as it is always good to go all in when you bid at another party's loss as your own benefit.
Accepting such an offer would effectively mean investing in the restoration of Russia's economy and preparing the Kremlin for future wars. For Washington, the deal would be more of a dangerous trap than a real benefit. From The Economist.
So, let me step out of the role of explaining news anchor here for a moment and become an Anchorage news explainer instead, trying to become a pale shade of a brilliant Jon Stewart here. Let me put it in easiest of terms for you. Vladimir Putin is right to offer to Trump a deal on whatever, anything, to break into Marvel Universe together and to join forces in a mutual Russian-American intergalactic conglomerate to mine Mysterium. And yes, it'll be a legit offer, and here's why. Just try to walk in Putin's shoes for a moment. Say you are a Russian Tsar, and you do literally whatever you want for almost 30 years in a row. You change constitution as if it was your daily menu. You start wars. You betray alliances. You murder political opponents and kill your own people in millions. Then send more millions to a foreign country that you announce being your property to unleash a genocide there in thy name. You wave a nuclear club and blackmail the world with WW3 with a nuclear add-on to it. You live in reality while acting as a gamer in a cheating mode with absolutely no accountability for your actions whatsoever. And when some of your activities are finally banned by the admin, and that starts to threaten your outdated empire you are trying to reassemble so maniacally, and your beloved giant, on a feet of clay, starts to sway dangerously, what do? Of course, you go all in and offer the admin a gazillion dollars deal, the greatest of deals, and don't you ever say it is not real. It is very real, because it is not a deal, but, quoting The Economist, a dangerous trap. NATO's largest exercise of the year, Steadfast Dart, has entered its primary phase. Troops from 11 member nations conducted a large-scale amphibious landing today along the Baltic coast. The operation involved 15 warships and 2,600 personnel. These maneuvers aim to bolster the alliance's joint operational capabilities, testing rapid deployment speeds, command structures, and cross-branch interoperability between naval, air, and land forces. At the same time, discussions are intensifying across European capitals regarding the potential development of a collective European nuclear deterrent.
Berlin is ready to join the project of joint European nuclear deterrence, stated Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Germany could provide Tornado fighter jets for the potential use of French or British nuclear weapons. France and the United Kingdom possess their own nuclear arsenals. Each has more than 200 warheads. Last year, French President Emmanuel Macron spoke about the possibility of extending the French nuclear umbrella to protect allies. On the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, he confirmed that talks with Germany have begun.
We have to re-articulate nuclear deterrence in this approach. And this is why we are conceiving, and in a few weeks' time I will detail that, but we engaged a strategic dialogue, obviously with Chancellor Merz, but with few European leaders, in order to see how we can articulate our national doctrine, which is guaranteed and controlled by the Constitution, with special cooperation, common exercises, and common security interests with some key countries. This is exactly what we are doing for the first time in history with Germany.
The European Union must have its own security strategy, Chancellor Friedrich Merz is convinced. In his opinion, allies first need to strengthen their intelligence services. Berlin, for example, intends to grant its Foreign Intelligence Service greater freedom of action, reports Politico.
We want to continue working closely with the Americans, but if a U.S. president, whoever that may be, decides in the future to go it alone without the Europeans, then we must be able to stand on our own 2 feet. Mark Henrichmann, chairman of a special committee in Germany's Bundestag, from a publication by Politico.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki also spoke in favor of joining the nuclear project to protect against aggressive Russia.
This path, with respect for all international norms, is the path we must follow. It is necessary to act in this direction so that we can begin the work. We are a state located in immediate proximity to the zone of armed conflict. It is known how the aggressive Imperial Russian Federation treats Poland.
However, this statement by President Nawrocki was later adjusted by the government. They explained that the head of state had not coordinated his position with the cabinet of ministers. Warsaw must act in accordance with international treaties of which it is a party, in particular the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, noted the government spokesperson. Estonia, like Germany, is not declaring plans to join the nuclear club, but is ready to host allied nuclear weapons on its territory if such a decision is made within NATO.
We are not against the deployment of nuclear weapons on our territory. We do not have a doctrine that would rule this out if NATO deems it necessary, in accordance with our defense plans, to deploy, for example, nuclear weapons on our territory as well. Margus Tsakna, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia, from a publication by ERR.
Nuclear deterrence in Europe is becoming more relevant the more aggressive Moscow's actions become. Analysts note, Russia has already begun preparations for the next war, according to Estonian intelligence. Moscow represents the main military threat to Sweden and NATO, stated in the Swedish Intelligence Service's annual report. The response to possible escalation from Moscow should be a new comprehensive security architecture that includes a modern defense industry, effective armed forces, and elements of nuclear deterrence. Reported by Maria Zheluchenko, UATV News.
Thanks for watching News Digest. Stay informed, stay sharp, and if you found this update useful, support us. Like, share, and subscribe for more global insights you won't want to miss. See you in the next update.